Hello, my name is Jesus Ramirez, and I am answering the following question from Chapter 4. How well do our attitudes predict our behavior? So, our attitudes predict behavior when other influences on what we say and do are minimal. So basically, we are not being pressured by the situation or like social expectations from society. So that makes the individual more comfortable with the scenario. Another thing that when attitudes predict our behavior would be when attitudes are specific to the behavior, not necessarily like general. So attitudes about, like, for example, jogging, predicting jogging behavior around that specific like genre in the gym creates better like attitudes rather than something more general about like healthy lifestyle, like for example just broadly discussing a healthy lifestyle when in regards if you're trying to like be better at something specifically, like in this situation jogging, then you would have to be more open and specific to that criteria, because you have to have a better attitude towards and focus towards that, just to accomplish whatever you need. And then the last thing that I have would be attitudes influence behavior more strongly when they are potent. So when the book says potent, they mean an attitude that you think about a lot or often and are self-aware. And when the attitude is stable enough, that means you think about it more on a level of personal experience, if that makes sense. So it has to like mean something to you from which you like were brought into that situation, if that makes sense. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like blabbering, but yeah, that's what I found. And then something that I also wanted to touch for a little bit, I guess this kind of would go into when does our behavior affect our attitude, but I feel like 1 and 2 are kind of in the same general like answering range. So if this kind of goes into number 2, I apologize, but I did wanted to mention how both attitudes affect behavior, implicit and explicit. Implicit would be like unconscious thoughts from your attitude, and explicit would be something that is self-reported, so you would know based on like you're self-aware of that attitude or thought, while being implicit would be like, oh, you're unconsciously not knowing what you are inevitably thinking. So that would fall between the two of like how these attitudes might eventually affect your behavior. So research has shown that with the implicit association test that that you kind of in the class discussed a little bit, it shows that people often have implicit biases that they are unaware of, which I kind of touched on briefly, but basically conscious attitudes are beliefs that affect how we think, feel, act toward people without us actually realizing it. So these two implicit slash explicit behavior traits, I would say, affects our attitude the majority of the time. So yeah.